G'day guys, and welcome to this carport build. It's a nice hot day out here in the bush and I am cooking. So we're looking forward to building something that can keep our car out of the hot sun. And so I tried to find temporary designs online using very accessible items like poly pipe or PVC pipe. And I actually couldn't find something really simple that's easy to set up, but at the same time can withstand some windy weather. Why are we doing this video partway through starting the project, you might be wondering, and it's because it's actually going better than we expected. So we've already learned a lot and we're keen to share some of the things that we learned with you guys so that you can build something similar at home. Alright, so before we get started, we'll take you guys through the key components that we're going to use for this project. First one you can already see above me now, and that's the poly pipe. Poly pipe comes in these massive rolls, and the more you get of it, the cheaper it is. But the main thing I have to share with you guys on the topic of poly pipe is get the rural grade stuff. So in Australia, green line is the most popular one, and you don't want to get the cheap stuff. This is why. For anyone that's done a bit of research about these kinds of projects, people say when it gets hot, poly pipe tends to sag. Now today we're cooking, the poly pipe's cooking, it's over 30 degrees, it's a very warm day and there's no signs of sagging. See that? Very firm. So it's very important. It's tempting to save money sometimes, but not when it comes to using poly pipe for structures. Anyway, up next we've got some star pickets, so let me show you those. Once again, we're using nice star pickets because we've learned that if you go to agricultural supply stores, at least in Australia, you're going to get galvanized star pickets for less than the cheap Bunnings ones. So it was worth our while to go to the agricultural supply store, and we got something that's going to last probably twice as long for the same cost. So the next component is a shade sail. Can't have a carport without a shade sail. And we've already learned a couple of cool things about this, and that's if you buy this stuff from Bunnings or your local hardware store, you're probably going to pay double compared to what you get on eBay. So we got this Insta brand, and if you take a closer look here, it's pretty good stuff. The fabric feels very sturdy. It's got these nice stainless steel eyelets, and it looks the same as the Bunnings ones, probably at half the price. But there's one thing to be very, very careful with, and that's when you're doing your dimensions. If you buy a shade sail that's 6 meters long, for example, 6 meters is the distance from eyelet to eyelet. But because shade sail is kind of curved on the edges, it's going to be about half a meter shorter than that 6 meters. So that's just something to be mindful of that we found. So some of the other things that we'll need are some pegs. If you don't have pegs but you got some bent star pickets, you can cut the bent bits off, use those as pegs, but we've got these random ones, we'll give these a go. And we'll also need some guy ropes, but guys, don't waste your time and money on guy ropes because we'll show you a really cool knot. Once you start watching some bushcraft videos on YouTube, you'll never go back to buying stuff like guy ropes. And last up, some zip ties. This is what's going to hold the shade sail onto the poly pipe. Cool, so we're ready to drive in some pickets, and just for keeping measurements and everything in line, we're using a tape measure on the ground.
Very handy.
And so we're going to have 4 spans of pickets with poly pipe, which means 1, 2, 3, 4 supports. But if you want to find the distances between those, you've got to divide the total length by 3, because even though there's 4 pickets, there's only 3 spaces between them. And last thing to not forget is it's not always just a matter of getting equal increments. We had our car here earlier just to make sure that the doors could still open, and we had to move these measurements around a little bit. So don't let that catch you guys out. These things are really hard to pull out of the ground once you get them in. We'll keep it as one. We don't really measure the height around here, but if it's just below my nipples, it's good to go. And so this tarp picket is now almost ready to go to put the poly pipe on. But there's just a couple of things that have caught us out that we'd love to share with you as well. First one being, if you look at this star picket here, this pointy bit sticks out pretty far by itself. So when you put the poly pipe over the top, it's going to bend this way. And so the pressure will be on this side. And basically you don't want the single pointy sharp end poking through where the main amount of pressure is. It's much better to have the two less pointy ends so that you're less likely to puncture your poly pipe. And the other thing not to forget is that these corners are obviously sharp. So what we're going to do next is we're going to use this grinder and we're just going to round them off a little bit. Because the first one we thought, oh, you know, stuff that, we won't cut the corners off, but as we were sliding the poly pipe on, it was pretty hard, and the sharp edges, they basically like left shavings of plastic poly pipe everywhere. That wasn't good. We've learned from our mistakes, so we're going to make them nice and smooth now. So that's nice and smooth now, which I guess we should do to all of our star pickets. Makes it a lot safer. But now that's not going to puncture through the plastic of the poly pipe. Technically you're supposed to have a bigger tool for cutting 2-inch poly.
This one works alright.
We get away with it.
Perfect. Time to put it on. Time to put the first one on.
Some people say it's supposed to be really hard. It's not really hard.
Not too difficult.
Nah, I think the only problem is when you just push down and you don't think about where the pressure is. The pressure is here because it's bending. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing here and pulling here, straightening it out. Goes on like nothing.
Perfect.
Let's put the other one on.
You make that look too easy.
Yeah, I think what people don't always realize is if you're doing something the wrong way, you really struggle, because you had a go at doing that before, and if you're pushing from here, it's not going to go on, it's just going to get stuck. But this is why we rounded the edges and everything, because yeah, it's a smooth process now. Let's do the rest.
Awesome.
Cheapest didgeridoo I've ever played.
Oh.
Other one.
And then you might notice that we don't have the last two star pickets in. That is so we can put the shade sail on and make sure we get the pickets in the right spot for the last one.
Yeah, because the edge of the shade sail, as we mentioned, is a bit curved. So we're just going to compare it with the one more hoops, and yeah, our measurement will be the length of the shade sail basically.
So we've got 3 out of 4 done, and then we just double checked the length left over to make sure we were going to put the pickets in the right spot. So now Alex is going to put the last ones in and we're going to be pretty much finished. So we've got the finished product here without the supporting guy ropes because we're going to just test to see if we can open the car doors first or if we need to adjust things a little bit. So Alex is bringing the car now. Looks pretty good to me. Just might be a little bit low on this side over here. Perfect. Can you open your door?
Oh, just. We need to shimmy the whole thing up.
We'll shimmy it up a little bit for sure. These guys are excited. We managed to fix the problem.
Oh yeah.
Can you do the honours?
It's good that we didn't do the zip ties too tight.
Perfect.
Makes it out. Right, time to reinforce everything with some good old rope. So I'm pulling on one of the eyelets and we're going to be at about a 45-degree angle from it. So we've settled on pretty much where my toes are. Let's put in our stake. Line it up for that one. Alright, so now as promised, you know, there's no point buying guy ropes once you know a few bushcraft nuts, or it's called a taut hitch. Who knows the origin of this knot? You guys can find better tutorials online. This one's going to be pretty quick probably, but essentially you put the rope through. You make 2 loops on the inside and then you keep going, but this one's on the outside, and you tighten it up and you got yourself a taut hitch there.
And you can adjust it.
You can adjust it. So we'll leave a little bit of room up here to adjust in the future if we want.
Awesome.
And now we're going to do the same thing down at the peg level. We're going to need about that much rope. Fun fact, if you use these pliers, your rope is as good as melted on the end. So, thread it through, get some tension on it. And so let's do that knot again. So we go over, over, over on the other side, thread it through, and we've got ourselves another taut hitch. Once upon a time I spent like $50 buying us guy ropes. Yeah. So that's 2 done.
And 2 more to go.
Now we just need 2 on the front, and I don't know, we'll see if it withstands the next big wind.
Fingers crossed, but it's looking pretty good. It's pretty windy right now, actually. Looks good.
Oh, look at that, it's windy and it's fine. Alright guys, welcome back for a quick little check-in. It's been about a year since we built this carport, and that's how long it took me to edit this video. Unfortunately, or fortunately, because now we can check in on this carport 1 year later, and as you can see, it's still standing. So the good thing about filming this outro 1 year later is that after using this carport for a while, I've learned a couple of things, and there's a couple of things that we could have done better. So let's take a look around to see what they are. So first of all, where these ropes are, when I'm backing the car in, there's only about this much space, or this much space between each car mirror. So the number one thing that I wish I did when building it was to make it a little bit bigger. I guess that's the only thing really. It's been pretty good. Of course, the shade sail, if you make it a little bit bigger, it's also good to have the shade sail bigger, because if it's high up, then the sun will still come in from all the different sides. And you know, if we look at the front of the car here, there's not much overhang, so that's why I got the towel there, so that the winch doesn't have the sun on it all the time. And that's about it really. The shade sail is still good. We just burnt a couple of holes in it when we had a big fire going, so it's definitely not fireproof, but it's been providing shade for a year now and it's still in pretty good condition. So highly rate these eBay shade sails. And of course the poly pipe, you know, it doesn't sag if you get the good stuff. And that's about it. I'd say the project was a success. Thanks for watching, and see you guys in the next episode. And just one last thing to mention here is that if you get the so-called outdoor rope at Bunnings, it's going to be destroyed by the sun pretty quickly. So as you can see in this picture, after a few months it just frayed and basically disintegrated into a whole bunch of plastic dust. So that's this outdoor rope at Bunnings. It's no good. Much better product is the high strength rope. It withstands the sun a lot better and it lasts a lot longer.